Anybody here looking for revival in our own hearts and across the land? Anybody looking for a revival? Lift up your voice and say amen. Lift up your voice and say amen.
Good afternoon. It's time for our daily devotion. I'm going to be talking to you for probably the next couple of weeks about revival, about what it means, about why it's important, about how to have it. And we're going to look at some varying aspects of what that word, revival, really means and how it ought to impact us. I did a quick search this morning on the computer, and here are a few definitions of the word revival. An improvement in the condition or strength of something. And when we think about spiritual revival, that definition certainly fits, doesn't it? That when we pray for revival in the church and the people of God, what we're praying for is an improvement in the condition and strength of the church. Here's another one. An instance of something becoming popular, active, or important again. Again, such an awesome application to the church, because I believe that the church needs revival. I don't think the world needs revival. I think the church needs revival. And I think the church needs revival because in that definition we read that God, His priorities, His will, His callings upon our life have to become important again. We've made lots of other things important, but what really needs to be important is the purpose and the will and the desires of God in our lives individually and in our lives corporately as the church. Here's another one. A reawakening of religious fervor, especially by means of a series of evangelistic meetings. Now, you see, I think that's probably the weakest definition of all, because I think we use that term revival to talk about evangelistic meetings, to talk about a series of evangelistic sermons, and we're having someone special come in and preach, and we're going to have special music, and we're actually doing that at our church in a few weeks. But we need to understand that just because we have meetings and call them revival meetings doesn't necessarily mean that revival will come. Revival means an improvement in the condition or strength of something. It means that something becomes important again. And what has to become important is the preeminence of Christ in our life, that He becomes the most important thing. Listen to this one. A restoration to bodily or mental vigor, to life or consciousness. As I was reading, one of the little definitions that came up means to revive, to bring to life again. And that's really what we need to be praying for, is that God will bring us individually to spiritual life again, where the Spirit is leading us and guiding us, and that He will bring a revival, a bringing to life again of the church, of God's people, that instead of just playing the game and going through the motions and doing religious stuff, that we're actually following Jesus. We're actually following the directions and the purpose and the will of God for our lives as a church, as a body of believers, as a fellowship, as a Christian community. That's what we need to be praying for. We need to be praying for revival, an improvement in the condition or strength of the Spirit's power in our churches. We need to be praying that something will become important again, and that is the preeminence of Christ. We need to be praying that God will take us individually and us as churches from death unto life. We need to have the breath of God breathed into us again, so that there's no mistake about who's doing what, that all the glory goes to God, that everything that's done is too big to be explained in human terms, but can only be explained by the hand of God. That's what revival is. That's what I hope you will join me in praying for today and every day, that God will revive His people, that God will revive His church, and when He does so, that the world will see Jesus for who He really is. Now go make it a great day, and I'll see you next time.
Looking for revival in our own hearts and across the land. Anybody looking for a revival? Lift up your voice and say amen. Lift up your voice and say